Hey guys, welcome back to another fun conversation with your favorite tech girl aka me, and in today's video we're going to be covering not tech, not product, but adulting. And well, what's more adulting than getting married, right? That's 101 of becoming an adult. Well, you get responsible for someone else's life, and that's adulting enough for me, to be honest. And in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about how your finances change, or how things that you should be careful about when you get married from a finance perspective. Why do I think that's important? I feel a lot of you are in an age group of 25, 26 to 30, 33, and at that age group I know a lot of you might be getting married, might already be married, or might be thinking of getting married. And it's very important that you think through your finances as well when you live with a long-term partner. You don't need to get married to listen to this video. If you're living in with someone, well, then it's important for you as well. And how does it matter? I mean, I've stayed with roommates before and we've managed that well enough. What is being married? How does that change things? I'll tell you a couple of things that change once you get married, and this is me who's been married for 4 years now, how things change. Number one, your long-term plans come into place. When you've stayed with a roommate, well, you didn't have any long-term plans. Maybe the max could be, hey, we need to pay the electric bill or what do we eat for lunch or dinner or whatever, right? But when you're staying with someone for long term, you may well have long term goals. It could be something short long term, like where are you going for a vacation, or it could be long term, like buying a house. And some of those things are very expensive and you have to really plan things through. For example, for a house, me and my husband, we have thought about getting a down payment together if you want to buy a house in the near future. Well, that takes years and years of planning. So, one, with a spouse, you will think about those long-term plans. The second thing is, money becomes money is actually the second biggest cause of divorces in the world. So it's a very important integral part of your life. It gets you stuff. Secondly, if there's lack of transparency about money, it could lead to mistrust in a relationship, which is not something you want. So that's why it's very important. And thirdly, money eventually gives you a sense of comfort. If you can't have that between the two of you, well, then that's a problem. Hence, money becomes a really important thing in marriages, and I think there's no point skirting around it or not talking about it, putting it under the carpet or whatever when you get into a relationship. When you get married, it's very important that the two of you get together and are honest about this. There's no need to skirt around it, to be honest. That's my number one advice to anyone who's going to get married or is already married but not talking about these important things with their spouse. But anyway, coming to my core tips or core things that you need to be mindful of when you get married. The most important one is being transparent about your finances. How much do you earn? Where are what money invested or kept in the bank or whatever? What are the passwords of those things? Who is the nominee for what? How much do you want to give to your parents, your siblings, your friends, whatever? All of those things need to be quite transparent. The other person needs to at least know about it. Even if they're not in agreement, they should at least know about it. Again, that's a part of building trust with your spouse. Someday, years later, if I get to know about my spouse having a loan which I didn't even know about, well, that's gonna raise questions in my head that what else do I not know about them, right? So that's very important, transparency. The second thing is setting goals together. Now this one's a bit tricky because you might be someone who wants to travel a lot, but your spouse might be someone who wants to settle down, buy a house, and just stay indoors. Well, that's a problem. Again, your life goals could be very different. The places where you want to spend could be very different, and this will lead to a lot of conversations, debates, fights, whatever. One thing that I can tell you with this is, even marriages are a compromise at the end of the day. There's some things that you'll do for yourself, some things that you'll do for them, but it's important again that you're completely truthful and honest about what you want, and sometimes ready to accept what they want. If you are not accepting what the other person is telling you, well, then they will also never accept what you tell them. It's a two-way street. So if you want them to accommodate you, you must first start accommodating them. So this is the second part. The third very important thing is tracking things together. Like, ever since we got married, and mind you, I dated my husband for 10 years before we got married, but never when we were dating did we track things, did we merge our finances. We were very clear, certain about these things. But once we got married, day one, we started tracking an Excel, and it's been 4 years since that we've had an Excel on how much money do we have, where is it invested, how much has it become. Like, even if our mutual funds had grown by 10% or we had a losses of 10%, we tracked all of that to know what's our net worth today. And we then have our ambitions, aspirations on what our net worth should be 10 years away. We do talk about retiring early, or what would that mean, how much money do we need for all of that. maybe we never retire. But the fact that we talk about these things mean that we're looking at a joint future together, right? Money makes you talk about all those things, so it's fun. But tracking things, that's the step one of getting to that conversation of planning a future together, right? So that's the next thing that I would recommend anyone who's gotten married or planning on getting married. And finally, the most important thing is, whatever you're planning, whatever your goal is, start thinking about how much do you need for it, like the basis. For example, if you're thinking of buying a house, start thinking, what do I need to buy a house? Maybe you need to have a good credit rating to get a loan. Maybe you need down payment to get a loan. Maybe you have to think about, what kind of house do we want? Do we want a big house, small house, a 2 BHK or a condo or whatever? Start talking about those big purchases, big things, because it's a lot of stuff. And if you keep pushing it back that, hey, someday in the future, 5 years later, I want to buy a house, well, it's a big thing. It requires a lot of decision making. So it's better for those big purchases, big bang things, you guys start talking early on. And it's fine if I have to buy a house 5 years later, I can still talk about it today. Maybe my needs, my wants, my desires with the house change, but at least I know that I need to think about the size of it, I need to think about the down payment of it, I need to think about my credit rating, because some of these things take years into making. Your credit rating, my friend, especially someone who's moved geographies, well, it's a tricky one. But anyway, more about that in another video. This was about things that change, especially from a finance perspective, once you get married. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, my friend, and comment on the section below if you want me to make other videos. I'll give you tips and tricks of moving an expat life, how do you manage your finances in this situation, or generally living abroad, how that goes, or anything else in the tech product world. So comment on the section below and tell me what you want me to make a video next on, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da!